It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on a Tuesday. Talking about what's going on in sports today. Always a local focus, but we do tackle some national issues as well from time to time.
Time to time, like the eternal question, why does LeBron James throw a tantrum like a 2-year-old?
I don't know that I've seen a more immature reaction to a non-call. I mean, we've seen some pretty bad ones, but that was something special.
Yeah, I've refereed literal children, and not children as in high school, and we still call them children. I mean actual small children that are knee-high to a grasshopper, and they handle bad calls better than LeBron James did. It's ridiculous.
That was bizarre.
It's like, what are you doing?
Very
son?
strange. We'll talk about a lot of different things today. Love to hear from you as well. Full Court Press text line is open. Phone lines are open. If you want to call in, 435-752-1069. If you want to text in, 435-339-0321. It'd be great if we could get to a point in time where those numbers are the same. But unfortunately, as of right now, they're not.
Why are they not the same?
Well, one's a landline and one's something that can... I know there are some tools out there where you can text to a landline and it shows up somewhere else, but we don't have that. At least not yet. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. A couple different things here. We'll reveal our Cache Valley Media Group Region 11 Player of the Week coming up later on this hour. Looking back at games that took place last week, different performances, who stood out on the court in their individual play. And so that will be revealed, coming up here a little bit later on this hour. We'll also get into the stat that blew our minds. We'll give another Player of the Week recognition. Doesn't have to be local. Could be somebody on the national stage. Could be somebody local.
It's our Full Court Press Player of the Week. Then
yes.
There's the Cache Valley Media Group Player of the Week.
A little bit broader scope, the other one that we do. But if you have a recommendation, a nomination for somebody you think we should consider or discuss, it's always fun to get your nominations. 435-339-0321 on those topics. There was a quiet night in the Mountain West last night, but it's a busy one tonight. Look at the established lines for the games tomorrow. We'll look to see if there has a line been set for Utah State hosting New Mexico, and there has, so we'll reveal that. And some news today about some of the events taking place in Salt Lake City during the All-Star Weekend. There are some current and former Jazz players that will be participating, and we'll get into some more details on that as some more teams announced for at least for the Rising Stars Challenge. But we should be getting the reserves, NBA All-Star reserves, announced here soon. But invariably there will be some significant snubs. Will Lauri Markkanen be one of those snubs, or will he make it onto the All-Star reserve list? So some of the things to explore today. And as always, if you have any other topics that you want to discuss, we will get off topic for you if you'd like.
We've got Broncos going full on F them picks mode.
Yes, big story today. Sean Payton. Now this has been rumored for a little while that he would get into coaching again quickly. He wouldn't be out for very long. one of the leading teams that always seemed to be discussed was the Dallas Cowboys, but this seemed to emerge over the last few weeks as Denver is his potential leading landing spot because that ownership group has some serious deep pockets, and so we don't care, we want you, and there had to be some. This interesting thing about coaches' salaries and coach positions in the NFL, and I think we see this in other leagues too, but Denver will have to give up future draft picks to get Sean Payton. They can't just sign him as the next head coach.
See, I was under the impression that if you waited a year, you wouldn't have to do that. I thought that was part of the point of Sean Payton sitting out a year and not signing, whereas that you would have had to make a trade of some kind with coaches. But if he sat out a year, then that, I guess voids his contract. Or again, I don't know exactly how it works, but I was under the impression that the 1 year wait would keep somebody from having to make that trade.
Well, so here's the reason for it. He signed an extension back in 2019 that was going to keep him under contract through 2024. But where he's the one who stepped away, I would have thought that would have made part of that null and void, but apparently not. It would be the same thing if somebody wants to hire Quinn Snyder as their next head coach in the NBA. They would have to give Utah some kind of compensation to hire Quinn Snyder. Though but I believe his contract does expire because they were in negotiations with him for a contract extension, and then he just said, "No, I just want to back out."
Yeah. So I don't know, it's all complicated, and I don't know, as far as having the money to pay Sean Payton, that's fine. It ain't my money, and Walmart is it the Waltons?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure on the last name. Heck, I was in Bentonville, Arkansas for a few months. You would have thought I would have figured this out by now. I went and visited the first little shop that the dude built. Yeah, so the Waltons have, deep pockets, but it's the picks that when you go full on trade all of your picks for, win now players, the Rams weren't the first people to do it. There was the old, the over the hill Redskins from way back when, and it never worked for them as far as winning a championship. So, I mean, if it works, it works. It worked for a year with the Rams. They got one, but now they're not looking so hot.
Yeah. So the Saints, they will receive Denver's first round pick for this year.
That's a decent pick, isn't it?
Number 29 overall, which I'm surprised. I thought it would have been higher than that.
Wait, who's that coming from? The Broncos weren't the third best team in the league.
No.
That has to be somebody else's pick.
Yeah, it's probably a different pick that they have. They will receive the 2024 second round pick, and the Saints 2024 third round selection.
I think the Saints are sending that back to the Broncos, aren't they?
Well, the Saints will receive the Broncos 2023 first round pick and their 2024 second round pick, and then the Saints will get the 2024 third round selection. So yeah, there's kind of a weird combination.
That's like back and forth, for the Broncos get a third rounder and Sean Payton.
Correct.
And the Saints get the first and the second from the Broncos. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it works, it works. I can't knock it if it works, but I'm just skeptical of it working.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, they already traded away a lot of capital to get Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And so they don't have a lot left.
And the thing is, those high draft picks, those are your roster fillers. This isn't like in the NBA where you trade the first-round draft picks, and you can get away with that because, you can sign free agents, and there's not too many players on your roster, and a lot of first-round draft picks are guys who flop out of the league or become end-of-the-bench guys that are easily replaceable. In the NFL, especially in those first and second rounds, you're drafting starters.
Yes.
Or at the very least, rotation guys. And they're on cheap as free contracts for their, in terms of their value. You're going to start, You draft a guy at number 12 overall, he's your starting outside linebacker at like a handful of $1 million. Whereas that guy in 4 years, when he pans out, or assuming he pans out, he's suddenly like $20 million for that same contract, that same player. It's like, okay, that's the value of these picks, is you're getting these starting caliber or rotation caliber players on cheap contracts, and it allows you to have these expensive stars. That's what I said. They function as roster filler. Well, teams like the Rams and the Broncos no longer have roster filling spots. They have to do all on free agency. They have to overpay for everybody. At the end of the day, you can't overpay everybody. You can do a bunch of, cap wizardry. The Rams, they've got a guy who's doing a ton of cap wizardry. You got to pay the piper eventually in terms of having dead cap, and it's going to come back to bite you in the nether regions. And it's going to hurt. And the Rams, thank heavens for them, because they got that Super Bowl, because they can always say it's worth it. But for the Broncos, they don't have that. They don't have any of that success. And it's questionable as to think, like, is Sean Payton just going to turn this team around? Was the entirety of the Broncos' failures this season all due to the head coach? Sure, some of it, perhaps. All of it? Is the head coach going to completely turn this team around and make them into a Super Bowl contender? I don't know. And if you, again, go another year with that roster fill, because the Rams, they did the F them picks. They had it for the 1 year, and they hadn't had to pay the consequences yet. This is the first year where they're starting to feel those, we don't have any roster
the
fills.
bill's coming due.
Yeah, and we already kind of saw the results of that. The Broncos, they're already a year into that now, because they traded away a bunch of their picks now. So can they play catch-up? I'm just skeptical.
That's putting a lot of faith in just one person.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson's not proven to be the guy who will lead a franchise completely by himself to a Super Bowl. His 2 Super Bowl appearances were kind of on that beginner spectrum where you look at, Tom Brady's early Super Bowls. Sure, he performed, but he's on a good team. They kind of carried him a little bit. Russell Wilson the same way.
Strong defense. Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger had some of that early in his career. And you maybe even say Aaron Rodgers, where his Super Bowl was pretty early and he had a good team around him. The better ones can kind of keep carrying their team. Tom Brady did it. Peyton Manning did it. Patrick Mahomes is starting to do it. And Aaron Rodgers has been doing it. Russell Wilson, his teams have just been kind of either getting mediocre and then eventually worse. He's not showing the ability to carry a team the same way these other legends can, but they're treating him like he's a Tom Brady, a Patrick Mahomes and all that. But he doesn't have nearly the resume to back it up. Aside from the fact that, he's a good quarterback. But he's not carry the franchise material on his back alone. You have to surround him with something.
Right, there has to be something around him. Because he can be decent. We've seen times where he's not just decent. We've seen times where he's pretty good.
Yeah,
but that's because there are really significant pieces around him.
Yeah. And he is good regardless. Like, I'm not saying he's bad. He's, Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber. But he's not at the level. And heck, when we talk about quarterbacks carrying teams, what Aaron Rodgers has been carrying the Packers, what have they done? Just because you can carry a team doesn't mean you're going to win a Super Bowl off of it. You still have to have a really good team around you. Look at Tom Brady, the years where he was just carrying the team on his back to 12-win seasons, that's the gap where he didn't have any Super Bowls. Then they started actually building a defense and putting some decent offensive pieces around him. And what do you know? He won like 4 more Super Bowls. Then he went to the Buccaneers. They had a pre-made team for him and won a Super Bowl. It's like Russell Wilson, maybe he can carry this, Broncos team with a competent coach to 11, 12 wins in the regular season. But since their roster is going to be so jacked up and lacking depth in key places, and if any stars go down, then, that's it. You're going to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs, and that's going to be it. You're going to lose to the Bills or the Chiefs or the Bengals. So, good luck. You sold your soul and your future for putting your faith in a guy who hasn't done anything in the playoffs for like 10 years.
A couple of texts coming through. We'll get to those here. 435-339-0321. 4781 texts in. Hopefully this Peyton does the Broncos justice like the last Peyton did. Clever. Nice.
Yeah, give him that.
Also, the pick came from the 49ers in the Miami trade for Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, it's that.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense because number 29 overall. I said third overall. That's like the fourth best record in the league. We'll give you the 29th pick.
Somebody else's pick, not their own.
Yeah, so that's better.
Yes.
If you're trading like what the Broncos have a top 10 pick, is that, or I don't know if they traded that one to the Seahawks, but I think the Seahawks do have that pick actually.
Have to check. 9315 texting in. My player of the week is Jason Walker for tricking Eric on the full court press this last week. That was good. That was good.
I did an overlay of that. Took a video of Eric while he was doing that. I had to overlay the radio sound onto that one because you can't. On the video I took, you can't hear the radio feed because we're in studio. Otherwise, you'd get a weird echo. But yeah, I kind of dubbed the radio feed over, and it's great. It's hilarious. Just watching you in live time, just like your facial reaction is like, oh. Like you can hear it in your voice when your face is just like, yeah.
Walked right into
You
it.
can see the realization like in real time of, wait, what is this? Oh. Just the cogs turning.
That was good. 4781. The Seahawks have the 5th pick from the Broncos. Yes.
Great day to be a Seahawks fan. Did they make the playoffs?
Yeah, they were beat by the Niners, weren't they?
Yeah, I think that's right. So, yeah, they made the playoffs.
They were in the wild card. Yeah, they were in the wild card game. They lost to the Niners, 41-23.
Yeah. I know Geno Smith isn't like a long-term thing, but there's value in having a good team and all these picks because you're just a step or two ahead of.
They won 9 games in a season where they were supposed to be terrible.
Yeah, they're supposed to win 2 or 3 games, and they go to the playoffs. And we've talked about the value of having a good team to develop your young players. That is especially true in football. You know, the Patriots were doing it year over year over year. The Chiefs are kind of starting to do that a little bit, where you can just keep plugging in. And again, that's the importance of having first and second and third round picks and being able to draft in those rounds. And then you have a good team and good coaching. You develop all those pieces. The Seahawks are ahead of that game because they're able to insert. You know, they can fill in some holes, and they got tons more picks to do it. And so they can accelerate. And with some of these high picks, they have extra ammo to go get a quarterback. Some teams expend all the ammo they have just to get the one quarterback. See also the 49ers.
Yes.
Of course, Seahawks or the 49ers may have had that extra ammo anyway. To go, I can't remember what their situation was, but still, you can go after that quarterback in the draft. And then they can go from there. Maybe build another good Seahawks team. There's gonna be some good quarterbacks coming out in the next few years. Not like last year.
Yeah, last year's draft class was pretty soft for quarterbacks.
There really wasn't a quarterback who should have gone in the first 4 rounds. But they still picked one in the first. They picked Pickett at like 20th, I think. And then, was there another one before Willis? Malik Willis? Because he went in like the 3rd.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But there were people like legitimately saying, yeah, I drafted one of the, Pickett or Willis in like the top 12 pick, with like 11th or 12th overall. I was like, are you insane? Drafting quarterbacks has gotten completely out of hand.
Well, it's the most important position in football, but we see some guys just way overvalued.
Yeah, but you can't draft the guy early because then you're wasting not getting another good player. You're drafting a guy who's not going to be ready for that pressure. You're going to put too many expectations on him. You're not going to be ready. And then he's going to flop. And you just wasted a draft pick and a bunch of other things and money and time and everything else.
A couple more texts coming through, 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. 9315 asking saying, Jason, you need to post that video on Twitter.
I'll see if I do. It's on my computer at home. I did post the one audio clip on the 1069 account. It's basically just a 30-second clip where it just has the audio.
Just the audio.
But yeah, I guess I can post the edited clip that's got the radio overlay. I have the raw footage on my phone. I could post that, but it's not nearly as funny.
You need the sync audio.
Yeah.
The full effect.
It's surprisingly easy to sync that. I thought it was going to take me like 20 minutes. But then like the first time I tried, I just kind of like I threw it in there. And I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it and see how much it was off. And it was like spot on. I was like, wait a minute, what? This was supposed to be that easy. Because I basically had to lift, sync the lips up from you talking.
Sure. Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, it's pretty much on. It might be slightly off, but I've watched it too many times.
Too much satisfaction.
I know. It's so glorious.
4781, you missed my LeBron question. Oh, going back up into previous texts
Yeah,
here.
you did.
What did y'all think about the Crybaby last night? LeBron did not play last night.
He probably
he?
meant the... I imagine he meant the... Because he sent that right as we were talking about LeBron.
Because they played the Brooklyn Nets last night, and he did not play.
Did he
If
say
you're
something?
referring to the game against Boston of a few nights ago, then when was that? Saturday? Going back through.
It was Sunday, wasn't it?
It was Saturday.
Was it
was
Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he meant the 2 nights ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, it was embarrassing.
Well, and there was a whole situation. I almost thought we should have talked about it on the show. At least, there was the foul on LeBron. It's a hard foul to call because, it's the kind that probably a lot of people will get away with because the only way you can do it is to watch it in slow motion where, you see him hit, it was Jason Tatum. I think it was Tatum, hit LeBron's wrist. And you can tell just, by watching the video as well that it very much affected LeBron because he couldn't do the follow-through on his layup and he dinks it off the underside of the rim, basically, or off the lower part of the backboard. But in real time, it's like, okay, dude missed a layup. And it's harder to tell. But still, it was a foul. It is what it is. It's not the worst no call I've ever seen in my life, but it was a no call. But, of course, LeBron decides to throw the kitchen sink in a tantrum, acting like, I've seen people go through so much worse, real, actual tragedies, and not throw a tantrum like that. And this guy acted like he just had his entire fortune stolen out from under him.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. To see a grown man who, for a lot of intents and purposes, is the face of the NBA, even though he's still on a bad team. I mean, he's about to reach a significant historic milestone in eclipsing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with total points scored. And look, what he's doing still at this age is incredible. It's amazing. But that doesn't give him the clearance to act like that.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree that the foul should have been called. But you don't act like that. You tell the ref, hey, I got hit on the wrist. Or you can do a Patrick Beverley and go show him a camera. Get yourself the easiest tech that referee has ever called in his life. The most by-the-book technical foul that you can ever call. It's when somebody tries to show you a replay on a tablet or camera. It's literally in high school rule books that you're not supposed to do that.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
that was nuts.
Yeah, and then the fact that the NBA referees Twitter page, which has doubled down on some of the worst calls I've ever seen, they've doubled down saying, "Oh, that bad call? Oh, that was perfectly okay."
Yeah, we made the right call in the right moment.
Yeah, and then they apologized, which I've never seen them do.
And not just like, yeah, sorry we missed it. It's like, oh, this is tragic. This is going to have reverberations, and what a dark day for our industry.
It's only missing the violins in the background.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, we're going over the top here.
It's like, and they only did that because it was LeBron. If that happened to Larry Markin, if Larry Markin had his head taken off in a playoff game, let's say, and they missed the call, referees would have said nothing. And probably would have doubled down on it, too. Yeah, that was the right call.
No.
He hit the ball before he clocked his head. I don't even think the NFL apologized for the missed pass interference on the Saints. Did they ever apologize for that?
No, I don't think they did.
I mean, they did the review pass interference thing, which is, I guess, a tacit apology or whatever. But, like, referees, and there could be a conversation about whether referees should apologize. There's definitely a talk about whether or not referees should face accountability for bad calls. I'm more on the fence that referees should never admit they made a bad call. Like, don't admit it. I mean, maybe behind the scenes, if you talk to him afterwards, fine, whatever you do as a person, but the NBA referee account shouldn't be apologizing. I know that doesn't sound great, but they just shouldn't be. I've made a case before that referees need to portray this look of invincibility, God on the court, and gods don't make mistakes. Now, we all know that in this case, referees make mistakes.
Yes.
And I'm not going to defend them on that. But there's a certain, again, this is part of behind the scenes accountability. And I hope there is accountability behind the scenes. I don't even know if that accountability should be public because, again, there's a perception that referees need to have.
Right, some infallibility.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, I think there should be accountability. And I hope there is. I don't really think there is, though. Not that I've heard. And referee unions have long opposed that accountability.
Got a couple more texts coming through. We'll get to those. We got to get to a timeout here in the Full Court Press. Love the conversation. Keep it rolling. 435-339-0321 here on the Full Court Press.
We're heading into some crazy weather this winter, which means power outages. Tyler and his team at Golden Spike Electric can install a Generac automatic standby generator for your home so you can avoid issues when the power goes out. If you have one already, Golden Spike Electric can maintain your Generac automatic standby generator for you. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac automatic standby generators. Power you can count on.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before March 1st to be considered for summer semester. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
Has inflation got you down? This is Zach with HSA Depot. Did you know you can save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies? Health savings and flex spending accounts can be used for more than just doctor visits and prescriptions. HSA Depot helps you conquer your health care by providing HSA and FSA eligible products, taking the guesswork out of the process. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty and see how much you can save. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Is there a doctor here?
Listen.
Here's Aaron Rodgers talking about this weekend's game.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Just because you don't know what the future holds.
If you're the Packers, you sit there and go, here we go again. And I will also be honest with you, he's answering a question of it being his last game at Lambeau Field. I don't know why Aaron does this.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, and you. Always love to have you participate in the show. Full Court Press text line is active today, 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in. A couple of texts coming through here. A 9938 texting in saying LeBron traveled before the no call.
I saw the replay and he didn't travel. At least based on... I can complain about the way the gather step and all those rules, and a gather step and a 1-2 can basically lead to a guy legally taking 5 steps. But he picks up his dribble, he has the 1 step as he's picking up the dribble, does a 1-2. pretty standard.
Yeah, the way the NBA calls it today. Also, 4781, Pat Bev was out of pocket for that, talking about that technical.
Yeah, I got fined.
Grab the camera, say that, like, who on the sidelines is like, hey, Pat, look, I got the picture of the foul right here.
Yeah, it was like the team for who. That's one of the things we had the cameras like who did he take that camera from?
I mean, which Lakers homer is like, hey man, look at this?
It would have had to have been like a team photographer. Yes, because like
if that was some AP guy.
Yeah, because if I'm sitting there for the AP and Pat Bev says, "Give me your camera," I'm like, heck no.
Like what? No way.
This is my camera. This is like a $5,000 camera. Those guys usually have.
I mean, how would he even know? Someone had to like approach him. Hey, look at this! Look, I got it right here.
Yeah,
you can see.
I can't imagine Pat Bev is soliciting the photographers.
Did you get it? Did you get it? What about you? Did you get a good shot?
It's just like, come on, guys. You gotta be smarter than that.
9315. You guys need to ask Al Lewis what the craziest call or non-call he has seen in his years covering the Aggies, and share on the show.
Yeah, I
mean, we could.
I mean, the craziest mistake I've seen referees make, and I think I've mentioned on the show, was where it was a Utah State women's basketball game where they were playing BYU, and the referees gave BYU an extra free throw.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and the game went to overtime, and Utah State lost. This was back when Utah State was kind of decent. BYU was actually pretty good that year.
I remember that, yes.
And I was at that game, and I was sitting there on the sideline. I caught it in real time, and I dang near yelled out to the referees, but I was like, well, I'm a reporter. I'm not supposed to impact the game, so I just shut up. I didn't say anything. And I still wonder whether or not I should have said something, because that's kind of that, you talk about journalistic ethics and all that. It's like, I'm not supposed to be the story. I'm not going to change anything. I don't think they would have listened to me anyway. But maybe it would have been like,
you raise the attention of some other game manager. Or,
well, it maybe would have made them think about it. That was the key: is make them think about it and then realize, hold on a second. The thing is, on the scores table, they were kind of figuring out, but then by the time they pulled up the proof and everything, it was too late. They'd already shot the free throws. And so they couldn't change it. And, of course, BYU, representative of honesty and integrity, after the game was like, oh, I didn't. The BYU goes, oh, I didn't realize it. No, I didn't say anything. Supposed to be old Honest Abe over here. And he was like, oh, no. Because, it was just frustrating that, and those players knew they were getting away with it. Because I caught it in real time, and most everybody else would have caught it in real time. I thought maybe if the Aggie coaches and players maybe didn't catch it, because part of the reason why there was an extra free throw is because they went into a timeout. So there was a break in between the first free throw, and then they gave them 2 free throws coming out of the break for a 2-shot foul.
Oh.
That was how it happened.
Right.
So.
Nuts.
But yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of bad no calls that have been. That can be a show for another day. Let's have a call-in show there. What's the worst no call you've ever seen in your life? Let's just open Pandora's box and go at it.
I know a lot of controversy over that game in Kansas City with some calls, but look, those were, and the refs, like afterwards they did. There was a pool reporter that had a chance to talk to the lead umpire and talk about what happened and why some of those things occurred. And they're like, yes, this is what happened, and this is why we did the things we did, why we tried to get the game stopped for this, whatever. Then the third down, like that play happened, and they essentially got an extra third down attempt, but that wasn't intentional. I mean, there were a lot of flags thrown at the end of that Kansas City and Cincinnati game, but they were all properly called infractions.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was particularly egregious. Like, there are people, making all the memes about the refs being on the Chiefs' side, but I was like, not really. Like, it wasn't the Saints-Rams blown call where it's like, that's the closest I'll ever say to saying, yeah, that penalty cost you the game. That's the closest I'll ever say to something like that. But, I mean, even then, like, there's some what-ifs and all that. So it's like, I think there's just a tendency for fans, and this is why I know the last couple of weeks I've not been as on the referee side on this show. I've been a little more critical than I usually am, but historically I've very much been on the side of referees because, when I take the fan glasses off, it's like they're generally just fine. They're not. I see all these people saying the refereeing is so bad in the NBA and it's so bad in the NFL and it's ruining the sport. And I get there's going to be frustrations in every game. There's bad calls in every game. There's reasons to be frustrated over that. But when people are exaggerating it to that point, I can't really take that referee criticism serious anymore because it's just going too far. Because, yes, there are cases where referees have made dumb decisions and it's ruined games. I've already mentioned the Rams Saints twice now. Here's the third time I'm bringing it up. There are those cases. There are cases where these calls happen, and it is terrible. But generally speaking, the sports are just fine with the referees. There's improvements we can make to refereeing, and I'm all in favor of those, and I would want to push for those. Referee accountability, better training, better things like that. But there are exaggerations that go on that I can't get behind because they're just complete hyperboles. And I hope that the people saying them know they're hyperboles and aren't actually serious about the NFL being rigged because there were like 2 iffy calls in an entire, 60-minute NFL game.
Because it's easier to blame the refs than to admit, your own team failed, right? And failed to execute in the same way as the other team. But it is heartbreaking and it's frustrating when it's a close game against 2 very good teams, and it comes down to, as we talked about just the other day, about slim margins of error. That one call can make it go one way or the other to decide who moves on and who doesn't. But look, it happens in every game in every sport.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it's unique, but it's a lot easier for us to blame the referee than to look in the mirror and admit our team just didn't execute as well as the other team.
Yeah, and it's also rich where there are Laker fans who are saying, they lost 3 games because of the referees this season. It's like, oh, that's rich. Remember that Kings-Lakers game from 2002 that was about as close as I've ever thought to a game being rigged? I'm one of those, NBA's not rigged at all, and I watched replay of that game, and I was like, oh my gosh, that game might have been rigged. Seriously, how bad that game was? It was like, sure, Lakers, that's rich of you. You have LeBron, king of flops, on your team, and you're complaining about the referees? No. Again, that's why, your point, it's easier to blame the referees than blame your own team. And I'm not going as far as to say that referees are biased against your team. They're not. There's one guy saying, oh, the Celtics are 36-2 and so referees them. Yeah, those statistical anomalies are going to happen in a 40 or 38 game sample size. Yeah, that's very possible to happen. It looks iffy, but also, guess what? Celtics have been a good team the last few years.
Yeah, that's true.
So, just again, I just can't get behind this, and pro sports rigging, and again, mistakes with referees. But
right, I mean, there was the case where and I can't remember the guy's name, where he was basically thrown in jail because he was betting on games.
So the NBA referee?
Yeah.
Is it Donahue? Is that his name?
Yes, Donahue. And so there was a suspicion that he was maybe throwing a little bit of calls that he might make to get a little bit more free throws or fewer free throws to match the point spread on some of the games that he was betting on.
Yeah. And that small-time stuff, I can believe that because it involves humans being humans and doing stupid things and potentially illegal things. And I can especially believe at the high school level that kind of stuff happening. Not so much for betting spreads, but for winning. I've heard stories that, assuming that the person telling me was a complete liar, where there was some pretty suspicious refereeing. That stuff I can believe. Because again, small scale, humans being humans, yeah, that happens. I'd be surprised if it didn't happen. But full scale rigging games, referees being completely biased, entire referee crews, no. You're not going to sell me on that.
No, yeah, I can't buy that. 2947, I agree with Jason. I'm not even a Saints fan, but that was probably the worst no call I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they don't get much worse than that one. It's there's no calls that I can understand. Like I said, the no call on LeBron, I can understand that one because I can see, okay, referee angle, it was pretty light contact in real time, whatnot. That Ramsey laid out the Saints wide receiver right in front of the referee. Like, what on earth was that?
And before the ball even got close to being there.
Yeah, and it's like, I was a referee and I made some iffy calls in my life, and I recognize them in real time, but it's like, that usually involved me being too quick on the whistle. If there was something I thought I missed and it's like a second or two after, it's like, oh, wait, I can still blow my whistle and whatever. But when I decide not to make a call, there's a reason I don't make the call, and then I reinforce that in a second, split, like a second split-second decision. You make the initial decision not to blow the whistle. You justify it in your head, and then you move on. And at any part of like a 2 or 3, second process where you're realizing I'm not making that call, you've decided why you're not making that call. You have a good justification for not doing it. And then there's whatever happened there where it's like, you going to throw a flag? There's probably like 3 referees watching that. You going to throw a flag? Like, I've seen referees throw a flag from clear across the field because they thought they saw PI. There's not 2 or 3 referees watching that long pass. The long pass, they all turn their heads to the one guy. Like, it just...
Yeah, because sometimes you have to make the call because somebody didn't.
Yeah. And it's just baffling. It's one I will never understand. So many of the other bad calls I've ever seen. There was the infamous one where actually there have been breakdowns. It was the one baseball game that went like 20 innings, and there was the call at the plate where it looked like it looked in real time like the catcher clearly touched the guy and got him out. I forget all the players involved. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, but it made the news because it was supposedly such a bad call. But honestly, when you rewatch it, you can kind of see what the referee saw. Maybe he didn't touch him. And like, there's other bad calls. The Jordan push-offs. Like, okay, you can see how the referee wouldn't have called that. On replay, we can see what's happening, but in real time, you can kind of understand a referee swallowing his whistle and not calling it. It's not as much of an obvious call. It's one of those situations where you always say a referee should swallow their whistle, and But again, that Saints one was just like, how?
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I've got to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. So when we come back, let's highlight some good things.
Let's stop talking about the referees.
Let's talk some positive stuff. Let's highlight an individual and his or her performance over this past week for our Cache Valley Media Group Region 11 Player of the Week, and what they did over this past week and on the court, and highlight some of the other people who were nominated. It was again a tough week to choose on who ultimately was going to be chosen for this weekly honors. We'll discuss that and reveal that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
What do Valentine's Day and Jarek's have in common? They're both all about the romance. Jarek's Fine Jewelry has a great selection for your sweetheart. Don't sweat it out worrying about where to get the perfect gift. We've recently added a 3D laser engraver. Now through Valentine's, Jarek's will personalize any jewelry purchase for no additional charge. We can engrave a wedding date, a name, or any message on most jewelry, like a pendant, watch, bracelet, the inside or outside of a ring. This Valentine's, let us help personalize your gift and make it special. Make it Jarek's.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you. visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press, and every Tuesday we highlight an individual's performance in Region 11 and what they were able to do. And we have a repeat winner here, and she is consistently in the running every week. But this week, her the things that she did over the last week stood out above all other candidates, Jason.
Yeah, so this week's winner, as you mentioned, is now third-time winner, is Ridgeline guard Emilee Skinner. She's been pretty consistently nominated most weeks. She's already won it two. She won it back-to-back weeks early in the season, so it's been a minute since she won it. But she did very well this week. She set 3 different career highs this week, which is amazing for a person who played really well last year as a freshman and has been playing really well. The fact that she set 3 different career best marks in a week, it's pretty good even for her. So she set a new career high in points, 34 against Mountain Crest, and she hit 6 threes to help get that 34 points. That's another career high. So she did those 2 against Mountain Crest. She also had a double-double in that game against Mountain Crest. And then she had 4 blocks by my count. Now, I don't know if that's officially going to be her new career high because that was me. They hadn't quite submitted all the stats from the game against Logan, but my count, she had 4 blocks. So that would have been a new career high for her there. So it's kind of unofficially a 3rd career high.
That's incredible.
And even so, she should probably at least tie a career high of 3 or set it with 4. And she only had 15 points in that game against Logan. They were blowing out Logan, so she didn't play a lot of the 3rd and 4th quarter. I don't think she played any of the 4th quarter. But she was still highly efficient in those 15 points. So she ended up averaging 24.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4.5 steals. That's the other thing. She tied her season high with 7 steals against Mountain Crest. So there's a bunch going on with her week. So even by her already pretty high standards, she had a good week.
Impressive.
So very well deserved from Emilee Skinner. The other nominees, there was Carter Davis from Skyview. He had back-to-back 20-point games as Skyview again went 2-0. They remain undefeated in region play. Jagger Frankham from Ridgeline, he set a career high in 6 blocks against Logan. I was disappointed that happened against Logan. But
you were there to see it in person.
Yeah, it was. It was a great performance. That's part of why he got nominated. I excited some input there. And Justin Anderson, he had a decent week, as did Marin McKenna, who continues to be one of the better players in the girls basketball side of things. She had another good week for the Green Canyon girls, who went 1-1. So another good week of good nominees, and there were actually two players. Actually, Carter Davis and Jagger Frankham were 2 players who hadn't been nominated yet. So the pool of players who have been nominated continues to grow. And aside from Skinner winning it 3 times, it's been someone new pretty much every week, even dating back to the football season. So we've had a chance to highlight a lot of different players. And we don't do this on purpose. This is just how the ball rolls in this case. So a lot of great basketball being played in girls and boys. And heck, when I was rewatching that Ridgeline Logan girls, when I was keeping the stats, there were some impressive plays from players other than Skinner. I know Ridgeline's point guard, I'm spacing on her name. She made like several really good passes. I'm like, dang, they're playing good basketball down there at Ridgeline. So I'm excited for this week's Ridgeline versus Green Canyon game, because those are 2 good offenses.
Yeah,
that know how to move the ball around.
We got the number 1 team in the state versus the number 3 team in the state. So that game will be our featured girls basketball game of the week on Thursday at Green Canyon. Green Canyon versus Ridgeline. But once again, congratulations to Emilee Skinner, our Cache Valley Media Group Region 11 Player of the Week. And we appreciate McDonald's for being a part of the program as sponsoring this weekly award. And McDonald's loves to be a part of what's going on locally in our communities with multiple locations between Cache and Box Elder counties, and they're hiring. So if you're looking for career opportunities, go check out McDonald's. Another quick timeout and some additional thoughts here. We'd love to get your texts as well. 435-339-0321.
The new Prodigy Brewing on Center Street in Logan offers an atmosphere that's vibrant, energetic, and friendly. Serving handmade juicy burgers, wood-fired pizzas, wings, nachos, and locally crafted beer while bringing a unique space to downtown Logan. Now offering lighter lunch options like personal-sized pizzas and sliders, or choose from your favorites like wings, beer cheese, fried pickles, and more. Stop by for a quick and delicious lunch that will get you back to work on time. Experience Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Schreiber Foods in Logan is hiring overnight technicians for maintenance and energy systems. People who can repair, troubleshoot, and perform preventative maintenance on a variety of automated equipment. You'll also have the opportunity to participate in their upcoming expansion projects. Energy systems technicians at Schreiber Foods work with ammonia systems, boilers, and refrigeration. Schreiber Foods doesn't just invest in equipment, they invest in their employees too. Enjoy an 8% 401k match, an employee stock ownership plan, an on-site health and wellness clinic. Apply online at schreiberfoods.com/careers. Equal opportunity employer.
Own a small business or a farm? You thought about solar? Listen up. A new USDA grant was announced allocating $300 million for farmers and small business owners to put in solar. That's right. The government will help you get solar installed, covering 40% of the cost. And don't forget, as a business, you can save up to 50 or 60% more with federal and state tax credits. Second Sun Solar will install your system and help with the USDA paperwork. Call Second Sun Solar today at 435-363-9917 or online at utahsolardirect.com.
Daryl's Appliance is the only place in Cache Valley where you can apply your service trip fee to a new appliance if you decide you want a new one instead. This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. You don't have to gamble. That's because you have everything under one roof, service and sales. You always get the best appliance repair team in northern Utah. But if you decide to buy new instead, apply the repair fee to your new appliance. See store for details. Only at Daryl's Appliance, west on Airport Road.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Napa case lot sale is going on still. Napa Premium Oil, just $3.59 a quart. Napa Premium Synthetic for $5.49 a quart. How about needing night vision headlights? Those are 50% off. You can save up to $19 a pair on silicone wiper blades from Trico and Rain-X. A lot of other great deals going on at Napa Auto Parts. 5 locations between Preston and Providence. They sponsor the Dan Patrick Above the Noise segment. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. More details about Emilee Skinner and her week and why she was recognized as the Cache Valley Media Group Region 11 Player of the Week. It can be found on CacheValleyDaily.com. And every week we will recognize somebody during the season. Shortened week this week. Not very many games to choose from. Girls will be back in action on Thursday. Boys will be back in action on Friday. Jason, we talked about this yesterday, but Jason, you did kind of a mid-region recap for all the boys and girls teams. And we did also share the latest RPI rankings that were revealed on Monday. So if you want to recap on all that, just go back to CacheValleyDaily.com and you'll find it there.
Yeah, just want to brush up on where all the teams are at. If you're following your one high school, but you want to see how all the other teams are doing, you can get that update. And we have, again, as I mentioned yesterday, the very curious case of not a single tie in the standings and a perfect pecking order in both boys and girls. I don't remember the last time I've ever seen that in my life.
Yeah, that's wild. And how will that change on the back half of the schedule? Because some teams have benefited from having a lot of games on their court against some of the tougher teams. Some will have to now go to the road a lot more. But just a few more weeks of the regular season before we get into the playoffs, and the semifinals and championship games will be held here at Utah State University, which will be nice.
Yeah, I am super excited for playoffs. Like every time I remember the playoffs, I'm like, oh yeah, they're here, and they're gonna be fun. And I'm hoping Logan makes it to the semis because then I can call a game in the spectrum. I've only sat on that side of the court a couple of times. I get to sit on the other side of the court for. It's not like I'm missing out on.
It's not like you've never been courtside.
I've been courtside plenty of times for Utah State basketball games. Well, I've never been courtside on the other side. The other time I sat on the other side, it was a gymnastics meet. So that's why I was over there. But I actually was courtside, I think, for one time, because I think I was reporting on a high school game. It was like Preston against Skyview a few years back.
Oh, when they used to do the kind of Rocky Mountain showdown or whatever, they would have some high school games up there.
I only just realized it because they have that for football. I guess they tried that for basketball.
They did it a few. I don't know if they did it more than 1 year. I know they've done it at least once.
I would have thought that would have been all right. The football one works pretty well enough.
Yeah. Well, coming up next hour, we'll get into the stat that blew our minds. We'll name a different kind of player of the week.
It's the full court press player of the week.
Yes, we'll continue to look at what's going on in the NBA, the NFL, and a lot of other things in the Mountain West as well. Stick around. It's coming up.
Did you know how hurt he was? Did you get a phone call?
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Niners have an impressive collection of playmakers at all levels on their roster. The team features a great pass rush, multiple talented pass catchers, Kyle Shanahan, a difference maker on the sidelines, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel in the backfield. But without a top quarterback, getting over the hump is going to be difficult. The Niners have been in need of a top QB for years, and after Brock Purdy's injury this weekend, San Francisco's future at the position once again in doubt. The team's lack of big playability under center played a major part in the team trading 3 first-round picks to secure Trey Lance. Despite the team's investment in him and the emergence of Purdy, the Niners are once again on the hunt for a quarterback. But talented QBs, as they say, don't grow on trees. And with the news, Purdy's injury could potentially sideline him for up to 6 months. Maybe names like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr are all possibilities. The Niners will have a franchise-defining decision to make at quarterback pretty soon. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.